Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the latest generation for the Lexus RCF. Huge shout out to Hendrick Lexus Northlake for providing the sports car for me today. Check out their website, that link is down in the description. So the RCF that you see behind me is finished off in ultra white, and we'll go over the MSRP once we go over all the specs and features and get this luxury style sports car out on the road. So let's start off with what powers this Lexus. Underneath the hood is the naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 that's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, pumping out 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque. That power sent to the rear wheels. This weighs in right around 3,900 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds with a top speed of 168 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 17.4 gallons. You'll expect to see around 16 miles per gallon in the city, 24 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 107.5 inches. Its overall length is 185.4. It has a width of 72.6, a height of 54.7, and its ground clearance measures in at 5.1 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this RCF, let's start off with the hourglass design for the grille. It's finished off in gloss black with a brushed gold for the entire surround. It gives it a really cool, subtle design. Now the Lexus badge is front and center, which is also a part of the forward-facing sensor, so it's nicely incorporated into the grille. And as you can tell, there are plenty of cutouts to provide a lot of cooling to this engine, along with the massive air inlets in the lower section of the corners of the grille, and there's even more inlets on the far ends as well to provide that much more cooling. Now this even has a set of LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals with that triple beam design for the headlights and the high beams, and then the turn signal is just above that DRL. It has a really unique design for that housing itself, but it matches nicely with the rest of the bodywork. And then for the hood, this has some nice lines running down it. There's a trim piece right in the middle. It is not functional, but I think you could probably make it functional if you really wanted to. Gives it just a little bit more of a sporty design. And then for the lower section of the bumper, it juts out just a little bit to add to that aggressive look. So as we work our way to the side now, being the RCF, this has a set of 19-inch wheels. They're 9.5 inches wide up front, 10 inches wide in the rear, finished off in a dark gunmetal metallic, and this even has Brembo brake calipers with 6 pistons up front and 4 pistons in the rear. Now there's an F badge just behind the front tire, along with this trim piece, which again is not functional. It has a nice design to it though, and I think that you could also make that functional as well if you wanted to. But it has some nice lines that run off of it for the lower side skirt. And then for these side mirrors, they have a triple color design to them with the body colored, the gloss black, the chrome, even having the integrated turn signal. There's a sunroof up top. All of the window trim is blacked out too. This model even has some window tint on it to give it more of that darker look. And it has a nice coupe-like design to it. Large rear window there for your backseat passengers. And then a line that goes right through the door handle all the way to the taillights in the back. Where, as you can tell right now, this does have an active spoiler, so you can deploy that if you'd like to, and then it will go up at speeds, of course, for better aerodynamics. And then the backup camera is right in the middle. All the parking sensors are running through the middle too. There's gloss black, even some white for the diffuser, just to bring it in together. And then there's the quad tip dual exhaust with that unique Lexus design. So with the exterior wrapped up, let's work our way to the cargo space now. I can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath to the right side of the backup camera. You'll notice too that Lexus is also spelled out just underneath that, which is a nice touch. Now this is a 4-seater vehicle, and there's actually a decent amount of space. Now the back seats do not fold down, but there's a cutout there so you can put some items through if you need to, and then plenty of space for any items that you may have with you for the day. And then underneath the floor, if I lift this up, there's even some hidden storage space. So you could put some smaller items here. You could probably remove this entire section if you had some larger items that you wanted to place underneath the floor. And then there's also tie-down hooks so you can secure whatever items that you have for the day. So a lot of space for this sports car, especially if you want to make this your daily driver. Now there's one grab handle up underneath, or you can just slowly close it from the top there. It's a very light trunk. So let's work our way to the interior now. Of course, I can lock and unlock this using the door handle there. And for the interior on this model, it has a beautiful combo. We have the Alcantara and the red stitching, along with the red leather and the gray stitching there. Brush trim piece just above that, and then a very funky design for this trim piece surrounding all the window controls and the side mirror adjustments. There's a lot more storage space in the lower section and one speaker as well. And then with the two-tone leather seats, you can see more of that red. F is also up in the headrest. There's some cutouts too, all of the stitching, and they are automatic seats. So all those adjustments are down on the side. Now let's work our way to the back seats. If I pull on this tab and push the backrest forwards, the entire seat will move forwards, which is very nice to see. So at 5'10", I can hop into the back seats where you're not really buying this to be a full 4-seater vehicle. You can see right here, there's not a lot of leg room, so you would have to push that seat forwards. But if you are back here, you do have some climates. You'll see right in the middle, I can open this up to reveal 2 cup holders. So that's pretty nice that you can hide those away, make it look a little bit nicer. Now right in the middle is the armrest, and then there's also the cutout to get into the trunk. So from here, you can pull this down, and then you actually have to go into the trunk to open this up. And as far as visibility goes, it's actually pretty open for your backseat passengers. There's an armrest along with a speaker, and then there's even more Alcantara surrounding that. Now at 5'10", you can see my head is up against the headliner. Like I said, you're not buying this for a full 4-seater. I could ride around town in the back if I really needed to, but this is also good for extra interior storage. So you can throw other items back here if you need to, or full-size adults if you need to take them on a quick ride. So it's nice to see that amount of space for a two-doored sports car like this. And then when you put the backrest back, the entire seat will go back into the position that it was in. So as we move on to the front seats now, it's a pretty low car, so it's easy to enter and exit. And then for the steering wheel, it's completely covered in perforated leather, a little bit of solid in the lower section with that F badge, and even more red stitching, which is a beautiful touch. There's also some brush trim accents as well. Let's fire up this RCF. With my foot on the brake, that button's over on the right side, and we can bring this to life. And looking at the gauge cluster, over on the right side is the miles per hour, front and center is the tach, and then over on that left side, there's a LCD screen where you can go through a lot more information. You can see some vitals in the upper section, which are fixed, like your fuel and engine and oil temperature, as well as the outside temperature. And then to go through the rest of that info, I'm going to use all of these on the right side of the steering wheel. Just underneath that, you will see a back arrow along with the lane keeping assist. The forward sensor, the cruise control stalk is just underneath that. So currently it's showing some average MPGs. If I scroll down, there's the range along with how many miles you have after your refuel. There's TPMS. You can even look at your gear position. There's a sway warning as well. So if you've been driving this for a long period of time, it will tell you when it's time to pull over and take a break. You have some units to monitor, even a blank page. If I go into the F setting here, you have a lap timer that you can look at. There's also history, your fastest. You have where the torque is being sent, along with a G-force meter, the rear wing position, so you can monitor that if it is up or down at the moment. I can also pull up the compass, look at music, and then we have the forward sensor for the adaptive cruise. You can monitor any messages, and then there's a lot of standard safety features that you can go through and configure just depending on how you'd like to have it set up. So it's very nice to have all of that right in the middle. Now over on this left side, you'll see volume and tuning for the radio along with all the Bluetooth and voice commands. And then these steering wheel mounted paddle shifters are finished off just like this trim piece here, which tie it in very nicely. And then over on the left side of the steering wheel, you'll see the odometer along with dimmer switches for the gauges. This is how you can deploy the rear spoiler, so you can put it up or put it down. This also has a defroster, the automatic headlights. There's the parking sensors, which you can turn on and off, as well as the blind spot monitoring. And then this also has the foot brake down below. There's one air vent just above that, and then more of that Alcantara covering the entire gauge cluster with even more red stitching. And then right in the middle is the massive infotainment system. Now it's not a touchscreen system just yet, so down below there's the pad along with map and menu and the back button. So currently you can see the map in full screen. If I go into menu, I can use that pad to go through all of the icons in the lower section. So you have destination along with audio and phone. You can go into apps where you can update some items or add some as needed. Now, if I go back to menu and scroll over to projection, that's how you can actually pair your phone to the system. So that way you can pull up your music, your navigation if you need to as well. There's info, you can go into setup. So this is all the general information that you can set up as needed, just depending on how you'd like it to be, of course. And then the last one is climate. So you can go into all the climates, go into the different options as well, and go through the fan speed, temperature, where you'd like the air to go, all of that information. You can also scroll up too and just click on these shortcuts here in order to get to it, which is pretty cool. And if I click on map, we can also scroll over to the far right where you can look at shortcuts for music, your climates, and then down at the bottom, if I click on this icon here, you can also pull up your music and have this split screen style. So it's pretty easy to use, not a whole lot of buttons to go through all of that information. Now underneath that, you'll see a clock along with 2 air vents, and then we have all the physical adjustments for the climates. So if you're not in the upper system, you have the temperature scrollers on both sides that you can go through. You need to turn the fan speed on there first, of course. So you can go through that. You have your defrosters, your heated side mirrors, AC, you can sync the dual zone system too. And then below that, this has a CD player, power and volume for the radio, tuning is on that right side. There's a few more adjustments for it as well. And then below that, this even gets heated and ventilated seats along with a heated steering wheel. So those controls are nicely laid out. And then just behind that, we have the knob here for the different driving modes. So if I turn it to the right, that is for Sport. If I do it one more time, that's Sport S Plus. By pushing on it, it will go into the normal setting, and then Eco is to the left. So you'll see that tack change just depending on the mode that you're in. It doesn't change on the infotainment system, so just there. And behind that, this has the traction control, which you can turn on and off. There's also launch control, and then by pushing on the TVD, that is another driving mode. You will see slalom there appear in the center of the dash there. There's also track and then standard. So you can change that just depending on how you'd like to drive. And then looking at this shifter, it's finished off in perforated leather with more of the red stitching. If I put this into reverse, you will see the backup camera up here where you have 2 different angles that you can go through just by clicking on the mouse pad. I can go back and forth between those, and then you can scroll over and adjust the guidelines as well. So just depending on what you'd like to see, it gives you pretty good graphics. Drive is all the way to the back, of course, and if I pop it over into the manual setting, that allows you to use these paddle shifters, or you can shift using the shifter itself. Now there's 2 cup holders to the right of all those controls for the infotainment system, and then in the middle we have Alcantara and leather for the armrest. And if I open this up, you can see all of those auxiliaries along with a good amount of storage to place items. The glove box also has a good amount of space, and you can see more of that trim on the upper section, which ties in nicely with the door panel. So we'll take another look at this beautiful interior. And as I mentioned earlier, this does have a sunroof. It has the manual adjustment for the sunshade. The control for the sunroof is up in the middle, along with being able to tilt it. And then this even has touch-sensitive dome lights. As we set off now behind the wheel for the latest generation for the RCF, it's been quite some time since I've been in this car, so it's really cool that I'm back in one to check it out for you all. And one thing that I'll say right off the bat is that this is a 2022. The 2023 is really not all that different. However, it will have a touchscreen system now, which I think is very much needed for this car. So this is the latest generation so far. It's still easy to go through that screen, but I will like to see the updated screen being touchscreen and how that functions, if there's any more technology in it as well. But for the RCF that we're in right now, this has an MSRP just over $81,000. For a Lexus, that's really not all that expensive. When you compare this to some of the other competition, like the BMW M4, for example, that might be a little bit more expensive just depending on options you go with. That's another two-doored, 4-seater vehicle. The Corvette C8 is also in that price point. That's only a 2-seater though, two-doored sports car, so a little bit different of a configuration. But there's other competitors in that price point. It really just depends on what you're looking for. Honestly, with this RCF, Lexus is still keeping that naturally aspirated engine. So if you still want a V8, you can get that in a Lexus. A lot of other brands, Lexus is going to some of the hybrid technology, but for their sports car here, they're sticking with that NA V8, which is awesome to see. So for 80 grand, you're getting a very nice luxury style sports car that does have performance to it. So we are just in the normal setting right now, and I'll give it a little bit of gas. You can hear that V8, and that wasn't anything crazy for this new vehicle. But let's put it into Sport S Plus. We'll also mess with the TBD here, put it into track just for now. And I love how this tack looks in a Sport S Plus. We have the yellow tack there. mild acceleration, but that V8, if you want that pure, old school in a sense engine, just having the NA V8, you can get that with this Lexus, and it still has a good amount of power to it to get it up and moving. And as far as taking it around this turn, coming up for this right-hander, it handles so well. Plenty of power to get out of the turns as well. So this is a pretty cool blend between being luxury focused and still having performance. It's also been incredibly comfortable to drive. With the adaptive suspension that this model has, it's going to give you the best of pretty much everything. You can comfortably drive this on a daily basis, and then when you're ready, you can get out on some back roads and really have some fun, or you can go out to the track and have even more fun with this car. So I really don't have any complaints for it. 80 grand, not really all that expensive for what you're getting, I think. We have the practicality of being able to have more than one extra person with you, which is of course nice if this is your only vehicle. And we are in Sport S Plus truck. We'll give it some gas. Mild acceleration from third gear, and it's got some grunt to it. It's definitely a healthy engine. Of course, I'm not ripping on it for today's video, but I could definitely see this being a lot of fun to drive. If you throw on an aftermarket exhaust, I'm sure that this would rip that much more. So for the RCF being right around $80,000, I love it. I love this interior. I do wish, or I can't wait for the next generation with the touchscreen system. I think that's something that's kind of been lacking in some of the newer Lexus models, which they are slowly switching over to having that system and a little bit more tech. But if you want a car that doesn't have all those fancy bells and whistles, I mentioned earlier some of the competitors like the BMW M4, Corvette C8, which is only a two-seater. Those vehicles have a lot more technology than in this Lexus. Not to say that's good or bad, but if you don't want all of that, you can still get a very nice luxury style vehicle with some basics for the interior. Very easy to go through though. But some people just don't want that extra technology. You just want to get in this car and do this. You just want to drive it, have fun, still have some of the creature comforts like the adaptive cruise, which is so easy to use. I love the stock from Lexus/Toyota. It's a very easy system to engage and go through using that stock. So it just makes it that much more daily driver friendly, and yet it still gives you everything that you need to have some fun with this two-doored coupe. But I think that is going to wrap it up. It's telling me to take a break, which is interesting. I've only been in it 10 minutes, but that is going to wrap it up for this latest generation for the Lexus RCF. Once again, huge shout out to Hendrick Lexus Northlake for providing the sports car for me today. Check out their website, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.